Hi there team, welcome to the second video on forces in motion, which is forces as vectors. What we're going to be looking at today is using I and J notation for forces. Now we know that forces are vectors, and we started last video looking at a force and splitting it into its component parts, its vertical and its horizontal parts. Okay, now I and J notation makes this especially easy. If I know that a force is 4I plus 6J, then clearly my horizontal component is 4I and my vertical component is 6J. So it makes it really, really nice and easy to split a force into different component vectors. I also need to know that to find a resultant force, I can just add my components together. It's a vector sum. Okay, to find the resultant force, I just need to do a vector sum. So we have an object that's operated on by three different forces, and we want to calculate the resultant force R. Okay. So my resultant force R will be the sum of F1 plus F2 plus F3. F1 is 7I minus 4J plus 2I plus 8J plus negative 4I, put the I in there, minus 2J, negative 2J. Easy as this, so 7 plus 2 is 9, minus 4 is 5, negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4, minus 2 is 2. So I have this vector 5, 2, and by convention I'll put it back into the form it was asked in, so 5I plus 2J, and that is my resultant force R. And then I'm asked to calculate the magnitude of R. So if I want to calculate the magnitude of R, this is when I start using Pythagoras, because I know that this vector is 5 across and 2 up with a right angle here, and so the length of this vector is 5 squared plus 2 squared square rooted. So I've got 25 plus 4 square root of 29. Which leaves me with 5.39 as the magnitude of R. Now, I need to be really careful here because in both cases, I need my units of newtons. Okay, 5I plus 2J newtons and 5.39 newtons. Let's look at another example. We've got an object acted on by two forces, F1 and F2, and I want to calculate, part A is calculate the bearing of the force F1. Now I know that if I've got this force, which is 7I plus 8J, then my bearing will be the angle that this makes with my north line, and so theta is my bearing. I'm going to start thinking that theta is also the same as this angle, and I know that because I've got parallel lines, this north line and the J, 8J vector, and so I can say that the tangent theta is the opposite over the adjacent, so 7 over 8. So that means theta is the inverse tangent of 7/8, which leaves me with an answer of 41.2 degrees, which is theta, and so my bearing is 0.41 degrees. 0.41 degrees, remember it's a bearing. Now, part B, given that the resultant force is parallel to the vector 12I plus 6J, I want to find the value of A. Now, the resultant force is parallel. Two key things. Parallel, we're going to be thinking of A equals lambda B. Okay, so it's going to be a scalar multiple. So let's start by finding the resultant force. The resultant force is F1 plus F2. Now to find that, I just need to do 7 I plus 8j plus negative 3 plus 2a. Obviously don't need that plus 2 there. So the resultant force is 4I plus 8 plus 2a j. Now, I also know that the resultant force is parallel to 12I plus 6j, which means that the resultant force will equal a scalar multiple of 12I plus 6j. What I now need to find is this scalar multiple. So 4I plus 8 plus 2a lots of j will equal 12 lambda I plus 6 lambda j. I can compare my coefficients and I should see that 4 needs to be the same as 12 lambda and 8 plus 2a needs to be the same as 6 lambda. For that to be true, I can say that 4 equals 12 lambda, so lambda is 1/3, and I can say that 8 plus 2a equals 6 multiplied by a third, so 8 plus 2a is 2, 2a is negative 6, and so I'm left with a, run out of space, so I'll just go over here, so I'm left with a is negative 3. This is a kind of goes back to our vectors problem solving. Okay, so it's just using parallel lines to find it. On this point, we've got two simultaneous equations. These two need to be equal. These two have to be equal. Okay, and I've substituted this in for lambda. Any issues, any questions, please do let us know. Otherwise, that should be enough for you to get started on the pre-quiz and then the sheet.